part. So I don't know if you guys have questions from stuff that we didn't cover today about some of the other products that we may have in the portfolio that we didn't talk about. I mean, we didn't talk really about products here, more about technology. I guess we have another 10, 15 minutes left, so we can certainly go over that. Or if people, on the internet basically have questions and that you can basically act as a conduit to actually ask them, we can do that as well.
I have a question. So around the sort of the product portfolio that you've got, you used to be selling products that would go on site, and the nature of your customer base and the way that they do applications is changing, as you explained before, and you are moving more to a services and subscription type model. So at least that's what it looks like. When you say services, what is the services sort of things as distinct from subscription? Like, I understand you buy a product and then you use it, and then there's services that you provide to customers, but then there's subscription to your services. So are you going to more like Adobe cloud-based?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that there's definitely a tension though between the traditional perpetual plus maintenance model versus the subscription model, and that's really kind of a licensing mechanism. At this point right now, we've looked in the past, and last year we looked very heavily in terms of should we move to subscription, should we evolve to subscription model. Honestly, so far right now, it has not been a problem for us to sell our software using the perpetual plus maintenance. For some reason, we don't necessarily hear a lot of pressure for us to move on to a pure subscription world. No, there are offerings that don't make sense to offer in a perpetual plus maintenance, and those are particularly the ones that are SaaS-based. Because then if I have to sell you a perpetual license and I'm basically having a cost there, and you stop paying maintenance after a year, for instance, but you're basically entitled to a perpetual license, how long do I have to keep that service running to actually make, kind of get the engagement there for you to run it, so to access it? So that's where it gets difficult. So when you see our product portfolio, everything that's on-prem is still perpetual maintenance right now, and we have no short-term plans really of moving that away. And then you've got the cloud-based, the SaaS-based version, Papertrail, Librado, Pingdom. Those are subscription-based because it really is very natural for SaaS-based services to actually be subscription-based. So that's kind of one area.
There is a lot of companies are taking something that you would traditionally think of as an on-site thing, like email, for example, Office 365, or what Adobe has done with Creative Suite. Yeah. So I'm just curious, not so much for around the financial type thing, because I know you're not going to tell me much of that sort of thing, but more around the way that customers use your software and how they come to use it, because everything runs in a browser these days. So there's not really a lot of difference between the server side of things living on my side or your side, which actually makes it a lot easier to go to subscription. But then there's a whole bunch of benefits as well, because now I don't have to do all the maintenance, and we've been hearing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I don't have to build my own sort of cloud maintenance thing and upgrades and all that boring stuff. I can just use your software to do cool stuff with the services that I care about, which now live all over the place.
Yeah, and I think that's where that's where being SolarWinds is difficult, to react to some of those things sometime, and that we also take a different tack sometime than other enterprise software companies. To some extent, we are very reactive to what our customer basically are telling us. And we have very few of them, even though they are doing experiments or they are moving their workloads to the cloud, we have very few of them asking us to actually just, hey, provide me NPM, for instance, or SAM, or virtualization manager. Provide me this from the cloud. I don't want to run this software anymore. I want you to take care of running the infrastructure. I just want to be able to monitor my infrastructure with your software, but I don't want to maintain your software anymore. I don't want to patch the OS. I don't want to maintain the database and all of that. So we don't hear a lot of that right now. And believe me, I mean, I'm on the technology side, so I'm with you. I like to actually be able to run this and say, this would be a great, I see a lot of people doing this right now. But we put this in perspective with our user base right now, and we don't hear a lot of pushback right now. No, maybe it's kind of this thing where that's the hidden face of the moon, and you don't know that actually there's a huge demand for that. But given the penetration that we have in various markets, I think we have a very good pulse of typically what our user base or prospect base want, and we would hear about that more. But I totally understand what you're talking about, which is, hey, I don't want to deal with, patching those OS, and doing any of that. I'll basically kind of just rent the service from you, basically. And at that point, yes, subscription in that case makes a lot of sense. But again, it's never say never. At SolarWinds, we tend to actually review priorities on a monthly
more frequently than we probably would like.
We are making changes all the time to our product roadmap and licensing roadmaps and things like that. So, I wouldn't be surprised even in 2016 some of those things are changing now. But part of the fact also is that the fundamental is that we're a private company now, so who knows what's going to, maybe some of those things will adapt and maybe accelerate or change as part of that.
Sorry, did you say you're a private company now?
Yes, as of this morning.
As of this morning? Oh, okay. Why are you giving us public?
Because we still have to do that.
Because
yes.
So I think you'd make Nigel happy if you ran everything as a container. Right?
We're not committing to it.
Missed that, sorry.
I said if they had all their services available for you to run as containers,
I'd love that.
You would be really happy.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, once Microsoft comes with, and actually ships their, containers for Windows, then maybe we'll be one step closer. But it's definitely the type of technology that, we may be looking at also for actually shipping and maybe deploying in the future. For sure, we'll take a look at that.
To kind of build on what you were talking about in terms of like what our customer base is really seeing, right now, all the conversations that I have are really around, we have our infrastructure, right? We have our environment. We're moving some things to cloud services. We're doing some of that, but the core of everything that we do is still in our data center, and we want to keep that capability there and selectively move those workloads. So we're able to essentially provide visibility and understanding in that kind of transitional role. And if you notice, between our on-premises products as well as our cloud-based products, SolarWinds is really well positioned to be able to help that customer as they, because we're going to see that inflection point, right? We're going to see people transitioning majority to the cloud as opposed to majority in the data center. So we're very uniquely positioned to allow that transition with our customers to happen over that period of time.
Because the flip side of that is, the traditional vendors that were on-prem, you don't see a lot of innovation on their side. A lot of them are chasing the cloud right now, and they're kind of abandoning to some extent the on-prem or on-premises world. And so for us, we still see this as a huge amount of opportunity for us, where we can basically kind of keep innovating there. Like you saw NetPath, for instance. This doesn't have to be a cloud-based offering. We can actually offer that for our on-premises customers, and they can still reap the benefits of that, even though it's not, provided as a purely subscription or, hosted type of solution. No, can we derive other products from that technology that actually are hosted? Absolutely.
Yep.
But just like a lot of things that we are talking about, like the SCM technology that Stephen was talking about for change management and change detection, you could imagine having a hosted version of that at one point as well. But again, right now we start with the world that we have the more traction in, and basically we'll evolve from there.
Yep.